Welcome back to our learning journey. We now move towards the React portion of the Merge stack. It's important to connect everything we have learned. React is the powerhouse that brings dynamic, interactive UIs to life. Now, before we start React, we need to have some understanding on the basics of HTML, CSS, and how they connect with TypeScript inside React. You may wonder, why do I need HTML and CSS again if I'm learning React? Because React uses HTML like syntax and wraps everything inside TypeScript. So before we jump into components, props, and state, we need a quick refresher. Let's build a small, simple example and see how HTML, CSS, and TypeScript work together. Think of a small, realistic example. You are creating a personal website for a friend with a basic profile card. We'll look at three things: HTML, which will help us in giving the structure, CSS, which will help us style the elements on the screen, and TypeScript, which will decide the logic and rules. So let's firstly see what is HTML. So HTML is nothing but what will appear on the screen. So if I can, let me just do HTML. Yeah, and let me write some code. I will create a div first. I will give the class to be, let's say, profile card. In this div, let me have an image. Sarc is equal to this, and alternate will be, let's say, my user profile. I'll also have a h2 tag. I will have my name as John Doe. I will have a paragraph tag. Let's add the description over here as front-end developer. Yeah. Now, if I can see this particular HTML code in the web page, it will look something like this. So this is the image. We'll also add a image over there. Let's say, yeah, let me specify a URL over here. Yeah. So as you can see, this is my profile image, which is coming from here, image. Then I have my h2 tags, that is my name over here, John Doe. And I have these paragraph tags just to give my designation over here as the front-end developer. Now let's move to CSS. So what is CSS? It CSS decides the appearance of your web page. It colors, positions, and shapes the HTML. So let's start adding the CSS to this now. Let me define the style tag. Now, first we'll style the profile card. So it will be dot profile card. Let me set a width to this, which will be, let's say, 250 pixels. Then I want some padding, which will be of 20 pixels. I will have a border radius, which will be, let's say, 12 pixels. I will have a background. Let's say I will go with 5, 5, F5. Okay. I will want to align the text to the center. Let's use the font family as Arial and Sans. Let's use this. Okay. Let's do my profile card now. Profile card and the image in it. So image. Let's give it a width of 80 px, height of 80 px, and the border radius as 50%. Border, and this height, and this is width. So width of 80 px. Yeah. Let's style my h2 tags now. So that is dot profile card h2. Let's give them a margin of 10 px 0 and 50. Sorry, 5px. Yeah. And also let's style the p tags profile card p. Let's give them a color. Let's go with 5. Let's go with the font size as 0.9 rem. Yeah. So here you can see that CSS has actually styled this component. So initially what we had was a very simple boilerplate kind of. So if I remove this CSS, as you can see, it was not proper. So there was no style to this particular card over here. But with CSS, what we have done is we have actually styled this particular component. So now to put it all together, TypeScript enforces the logic and data rules. So before we go to the TypeScript, do we have any questions on this?
No.
Okay. So let's move on to the TypeScript part. So in TypeScript, before React, TypeScript is often used to ensure our JavaScript behaves correctly. Let's say you want to store a list of profile details. TypeScript will help us make sure the data is correct. So let's say I want to store, let's say some user details, like that particular user will have some name, then he will have some role, and let's say the user may provide his age or may not provide. So this is kind of like the few details that the user profile will have. Now to store these, what I can do is, as we are seeing the interface, I will define one interface saying user profile. I will create an object over here. Uh, Let me do this in a TS file. So I'm going to do this. Mm, Let me create another file saying user.ts. Yeah, I will have my interface over here, which will have my name as string. I will have my role, which will be again a string. I will have my age, which is optional, and that will be of type number. Yeah. Now what I can do is I can define my user saying constant user profile, a user, which is of type user profile, and I can give some details over here. So let's say name is uh, John Doe, and role is front end developer. Yeah. So here is what TypeScript adds. Interface defines the shape of the data, optional properties like age, and prevents mistake if you assign a wrong type. So this is the kind of data you will later pass into React components. Now that you understand how HTML builds the structure, CSS shapes the appearance, and TypeScript defines the rules for your data, we are ready to move into React, where all three come together. This session was intentionally kept light but meaningful because React becomes much easier when these basics are clear. In the next lesson, we will start delving into React. Until then, keep coding, keep exploring. Thank you.